To replace the belt on an MXB actuator, you're going to need the following. One is a part sheet of the appropriate size and type of MXB actuator you have. Two is a wrench to adjust the turnbuckle assembly. You need an assortment of Allen wrenches for the various fasteners that are located on the actuator. And then you need a ruler or tape measure or a straight edge with a force gauge for tensioning the belt. The first step in removing the belt is to remove the 4 fasteners connecting the carrier to the belt bracket assemblies. On MXB units that have a profiled rail, the fasteners that connect the carrier to the belt bracket assembly are located here, offset from the mounting surface of the carrier itself. With the 4 fasteners removed, the carrier can be slid off of the belt buckle assembly, and the turnbuckle can now be loosened to remove the belt clamps away from each other and away from the turnbuckle. In each belt clamp assembly are 2 nuts that were used to connect the fasteners from the carrier to the belt clamp assembly. These should be removed now so that they do not get lost later on. Now that the nuts are removed, we can remove the fasteners that are connecting the bottom of the belt clamp assembly to the top of the belt clamp assembly and securing the belt together. And with the last fastener removed, the top part and bottom part of the belt clamp assembly can be removed. The next step is to remove the caps on each end of the actuator's heads. And with the last fastener removed, the head cap can come off, which gives you access to the belt and allows you to remove the belt from the actuator assembly. So here are all the components that need to be removed from an MXB to remove the belt from this unit. To replace the belt and install a new belt, you simply do these steps in reverse order. The first step is to feed the new belt through the main body of the actuator. With the new belt fed through the actuator around the pulleys and under the carrier, we can now install the belt clamps for each belt for each side of the actuator. When installing these, be sure to use on the lower part of the belt clamp. Be sure that it contacts every point of the belt and goes right up to the edge of the belt. With the upper and lower part of the belt bracket assembly firmly secured with the fasteners, we can now install the 4 nuts that will be used to attach the carrier to the belt bracket assembly via the fasteners. After installing these 4 nuts, the next step is to install the turnbuckle assembly. Be aware that one side of the turnbuckle assembly has left-handed threads, so you must match the left-handed threads on the turnbuckle to the bracket that has the left-handed threads. So you might have to try, adjust, turn around if needed. At this point, we can use our wrench to tighten the belt to give us a little bit closer to what our final tension will be. We will do the final tensioning later on using the force gauge, but this will make the belt easier to work with. With the belt initially tightened, we can slide the carrier over the belt bracket assemblies and line up the 4 holes in the carrier to the nuts below. Then we can install the fasteners that will connect the carrier to the belt bracket assemblies. At this point, we don't want to firmly tighten down these fasteners yet because we still need to tension the belt. To tension the belt, you want to read the instructions and look for the specific belt tensioning specifications that are going to be for the actuator that you're working on. In this case, we need to first move the carrier about 6 inches away from the head of the end. We're going to do that with a ruler here, simple ruler. Look at 6 inches, move it there. We use the force gauge, and for this particular actuator, we need to deflect the belt 2 inches away from the head, and we need to do a total deflection of 1/4 inch and measure how much force that it takes to make that deflection. We're looking for a force range of 12 to 16 pounds for this particular actuator. You can use the ruler as a straight edge to mark where the belt will be. If you have more precise tools, it's best to use those as well. This is for a rough tensioning. If the force reading on your force gauge is either too high or too low out of the range, you should adjust the belt tension by turning the turnbuckle assembly until you find the proper tensioning. Then you can tighten down these fasteners on the carrier and firmly attach everything together. The final step in this assembly is to attach the end caps to the head assemblies of the actuator. So with the last fastener tightened, this MXB unit is ready to go with a brand new belt. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Tolomatics Helpline. You can get a hold of any application engineer who will be able to help you with disassembly or reassembly of any of our actuators.